How are you guys? Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us this morning. I do want to let you know that I am recording this just so we can pop it up on our YouTube channel. So anybody that misses this session is able to go back and view it later, or if you ever need to reference it in the future. So today we are going to review the closing cover sheet. For some of you, I know you've been using it for many, many years, and this is just meant to be a refresh. But for others, it's a newer document, and we just want to kind of take a minute to go through it and explain what we look for, how we use it here at the main office, and kind of how it can help you guys as well. We're also going to go over when we have lots of double enders here in this office, which is amazing, and who, depending on what side you are, who should fill it out, that kind of thing. So I'm going to now share my screen. So of course you all know that you can find it in the under the reference tab in Pipeline. So if you haven't, if you don't have it saved to your desktop, which I highly recommend, you can always access it. You can always access it there. So that's what I've done is I've gone into Pipeline, I've opened up the original document, and it is editable. So then you don't have to, you can always print it out and handwrite it if you like, and that's totally fine. But if you download it or whichever you prefer, I feel like it's way easier to type. But so just starting from the top, it's pretty self-explanatory. MLS. So in this box, pretty much I know sometimes if it's an ATS or I'm trying to think, like there's definitely special circumstances where you may not have an MLS. So of course we love to have the MLS number there, but if you don't have one, just to make sure that that is how you name it in Pipeline, because that will make it the easiest for us to find as well. So whatever that may be. So for this case, I'll just do like ATS, I'll do my last name, for sure. So again, it's whatever is easiest for you, but if you do whatever you name it, it will make it easier for us to find it and locate it in Pipeline. Of course, the property type, that's pretty self-explanatory, but making sure to check whichever applies. Title company, if you know that, that's perfect. So fill that out. I'm just going to fill out integrity. Then seller's name. So again, really easy. Oops. I do Susie seller and Bobby buyer. Property address, that's okay. So then of course for the list agent, I'm just gonna pick one of you all that are here with us today. So Carrie, of course we know who you're with. And then if we chose a team, then for the other side, so it'd be Tammy. And next file. And then we'll just pick Sophia. Okay, contract date. So of course the date that it goes under contract. So we'll just pick something. The sale price is, again, pretty self-explanatory. And then the date that it's supposed to close. Now I do get questions on this, so we'll just say that it's supposed to close on the 15th. So once you turn this in and say that the date changes, that it's totally fine. You don't actually have to, if you already, because typically we would love to have this closing cover sheet emailed over to Remax Lotto Closings at gmail.com when it goes under contract. That allows us to know, first of all, that you have a transaction that's pending, and we're able to get it into Broker Wolf. So that what that does is it just allows us to expedite the closing process when that time comes, because we have all of that information into our accounting system, Broker Wolf, which is the program that we use to cut the checks. So when it does go under contract, if you can just give that over to us, that would be wonderful. Let's see, I see that Penny, do you have a question? I don't know how to.
Caitlin, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. What was the email address again?
It's Remax Lotto Closings at gmail.com. So
Closings,
that's the
plural.
one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. If you are working a double ender, so in this example, Carrie, you're working a double ender with Fran's team. So I've heard, so I've heard that then the listing agent, it's their responsibility to get it over to us. That's what I've been told that the company policy is. But I also know that a lot of times teams will work with, or agents in general will work with each other to get it filled out. So ultimately, we don't necessarily care who turns it into us, just as long as it gets turned in, hopefully, preferably prior to close. So then the pending, that's kind of, so then when we get to I guess the four big boxes. So the pending and the closed, those are actually the top two quadrants. Those are checklists for you guys. It's to kind of help you. So if you don't fill that part out, it's not going to make or break us. It's really just meant to help you guys. The bottom two things, however, are the things that we will work. So the way it works is once a property goes under contract and you get the closing cover sheet over to us, what we do then is we will start with the lower left quadrant. We'll go work pending. This is kind of our pending checklist. It emulates what is in, or it matches what our checklist looks like in pipeline. So but we will go through this and we'll make sure that everything is there. So once we do that, and a lot of times, just so you guys know, if there's a couple of things, so if you have the seller's disclosure in there, we'll put an X and then a slash, and if it's signed, then we'll put another X. On the next line, if the brokerage relationship is identified on the sales contract, we'll put that X there. If we're missing the buyer's agency, for instance, we just will leave it blank and keep going. On the seller's disclosure, if there's one required, then we'll put the year there and that slash. And then if we have like a dash, it means that we don't need that lead-based paint because of course it's before that 78. I do need to amend this because a lot of times we don't, now the new contracts don't require the, or have the page 8 receipt. So, but we would just put that there if we have the EM receipt. And then if it's not applicable, we will put that. Signed by both parties. We have the broker's disclosure. We have both sides. So the buyer has that. Waterfront. So that's kind of what it'll look like. If we don't have something, then of course we'll leave it blank. But once we work the pending checklist and we make all of our notations, then we upload that into Pipeline. Again, we will also, of course, do the checklist in Pipeline as well, and it should match or reflect that. Then down here at the bottom, the very bottom, of course, we would put like Sophia. Nope, sorry. Listing is Carrie. And then we'll put Sophia. And then if you guys collect the transaction fee, this is where we would put it. So I'll just put, I don't know what your all's transaction fees are. I know some of them. So we'll put that. Then down here, this is where we would do the breakdown. So this is what we go by when we are looking for the splits. So Barry, we would put you here. As far as commission percent, this is what we refer to as the splits. I know a lot of times, and it's totally fine, but a lot of times people will put the 3% or the 3.5%. We don't need that. We just need to know this how it's broken out as far as your checks. So if you're a primary, of course, most of the time it'll just be 100% of it goes to you as far as the commission. So for a team, though, we would have Tammy and Sophia. And then this is where we would say that, okay, 50 of it goes to Tammy and 50 of it goes to Sophia. If you have a referral, then we just need to know the percent. So Carrie, if you had a referral on this one, for instance, that percent would go there. For primary, again, the charitable foundation is always 10, but if on a team, sometimes they split it. So for this scenario, we will split it. So then that's where we just want to keep that there. And then the transaction fee, we would put what you guys collected. And I know that on a team, a lot of times, Carrie, how you guys do that is totally fine. So whatever the remaining balance is that you should collect, because we always know that the 98 is taken out. So even in this case, Carrie, we could go back and say that you're going to collect that 100 remaining out of the 198. And then, of course, ProPower. I hope you all know what ProPower is, but it's that automated client follow-up program that the company offers. So the easiest way to do that or to sign someone up for ProPower is to just have it taken out of your closing. So just by checking this box or putting an X in that box, and then sometimes the teams split that $25. There's a $25 fee per client for that. And if you split that fee, then just notate again what that split looks like for your team. Finally, as it pertains to ProPower, we would love to know the address so that we can get them signed up. So if you have an address that is not the primary, so for instance, for this example, maybe Sia wants to add them to ProPower, so we're going to put the $25 on her. But this is her client's like second home. We want to make sure that we are signing her client up for the correct address. So if you could, it would be amazing to just have you write down Bobby and his primary address is this. And so then we'll know what address to sign them up for. Otherwise, we either A, have to reach out to you to find out what address we need to sign them up, or B, we default to the address that, especially if it's the buy side, obviously, we default to the address there. Most of the times we try to reach out to you, but if we can't get a hold of you, then we can always update it later, but that makes it the easiest for us. finally, this checklist here on the bottom right quadrant, that's the checklist that we go off of when we process the closing. And so when you turn in your checks, your closing checks, and with your closing cover sheet, then that's when we work that, and then we'll upload the final one with your commission splits and checks for and we save it. We save that to private just for our own filing. So I've had several questions about whether or not we close things out in matrix for people, and we don't here at the main office. So the reason being is because a lot of times, well, most of the time, we're not able to answer all of the questions, and we don't know all of the particulars of that property the way that the agent or you guys do. So if there's extenuating circumstances, we absolutely, especially for primaries, I know that there's been times when something's come up, or you've been out of town, or things like that, and it does require us typically to call you and have you walk us through. So because we don't know if there's prepaids or what that kind of thing looks like. Just so you guys are aware of that. Do you guys have any other, that kind of wraps up filling out the closing cover sheet? Do you guys have any questions or concerns?
Kaylin, on the Pro Power, is there a website that we can look at to see who we are actually sending to and supplement maybe ones that we have missed in the past?
There isn't, Ron, if you have, so that's a really good question. If you have signed people up in the past, I can always reach out to our contact at ProPower, and she can provide me with a list of people that they're currently mailing to for you. And
Okay.
so then you can reference it that way. And if for whatever reason we did miss people, or maybe you forgot to check the box and we didn't do it during closing, you can always get us that information, the client's name and address that you want it sent to, and then we can just add that to your agent billing. So that's the other option for getting people signed up for ProPower.
Okay, could you do that for me? Because I'm sure I missed some early on, sending to my early clients because I wasn't aware of the program. So I'd like to get them in the loop if I could.
Yeah, I jotted that down, and I'll get that list to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, guys. Well, I won't keep you. Thank you so much for joining us, and you guys have a great day.
Thanks, Kaylin. You too.
Bye.
Bye.